I'm going to reveal why your brain is secretly sabotaging your ability to see opportunities, and how understanding this one psychological mechanism can make you feel like the universe is finally working with you instead of against you. This isn't mystical nonsense. This is proven neuroscience that most people never learn, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to hack your own perception to spot opportunities that others walk past every single day. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how, when you're thinking about buying a specific car, suddenly you see that exact model everywhere? Or how pregnant women seem to spot other pregnant couples constantly? Most people think this is just coincidence, but there's actually a neurological reason this happens, and once you understand it, you can use it to completely transform what you notice in your daily life. Here's what's really happening that nobody talks about. You're living in a filtered reality, and you don't even know it. Every single day, you're missing opportunities, solutions, and connections that could change your life. But your brain is literally blocking them from your awareness. Let me give you a real example. Two people walk into the same coffee shop. Person A is focused on how expensive everything is, how crowded it is, how long the line takes. Person B notices the interesting book the person ahead of them is reading, overhears a conversation about a job opening in their field, and spots a flyer for a networking event they'd been looking for. Same coffee shop, same moment in time, completely different realities. Why? Because their brains are filtering for different information. You've felt this yourself. You're stuck on a problem for weeks. Then suddenly, the perfect solution appears. Maybe it's a conversation you overhear, a random article, or a chance encounter. Most people call this luck or coincidence and move on. But what if I told you there's a scientific reason why some people seem to have all the luck, while others keep missing opportunities that are literally right in front of them? The truth is, your brain is processing over 11 million bits of sensory information every second right now. But your conscious mind can only handle about 40 to 50 bits. That means 99.999% of available information is being filtered out without you ever knowing it existed. So who's deciding what gets through? Your subconscious mind, based on programming you probably didn't even know you were installing. Let me introduce you to the Reticular Activating System, RAS, your brain's bouncer, that stands at the door of your consciousness deciding what information deserves your attention and what gets thrown out. The RAS is a network of neurons located in your brainstem. It's been keeping humans alive for thousands of years by filtering information based on what we've told it is important. When our ancestors heard a twig snap in the forest, their RAS made sure that sound got through because it could mean danger. When they were hungry, it made sure they noticed edible plants and animal tracks. But here's what's fascinating about the modern world. Your RAS is still doing this job, but now instead of filtering for survival, it's filtering based on your beliefs, your focus, and your repeated thought patterns. Dr. Gayatri Devi, a neurologist at Lenox Hill Hospital, explains it this way. The RAS takes instructions from your conscious mind and passes them on to your subconscious. Whatever you're thinking about or focusing on, it brings to your attention. This is why when you decide you want to learn guitar, you suddenly notice guitars in movies, guitar shops you never saw before, and friends mentioning they used to play. The guitars were always there. Your brain just wasn't programmed to notice them. But here's where it gets really interesting. Research from UCLA shows that people who write down specific goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. Why? Because the act of writing clarity programs your RAS to filter for information related to that goal. There's another layer to this, called the cocktail party effect. You know how you can be in a crowded, noisy room, but the moment someone across the room says your name, you hear it clearly? That's your RAS in action. It's constantly scanning the environment for information it deems relevant to you. Harvard psychologist Daniel Simons proved this with his famous invisible gorilla experiment. People watching a video of basketball players passing a ball were asked to count the passes. While they were focused on counting, a person in a gorilla suit walked right through the middle of the action. Over half the viewers completely missed the gorilla, not because they weren't paying attention, but because their attention was directed elsewhere. This is happening in your life every single day. You're missing the gorilla, the opportunities, the solutions, the connections, because your RAS is programmed to notice something else. Your brain evolved as a pattern recognition machine. For our ancestors, the ability to recognize patterns meant the difference between life and death. The person who could recognize the pattern of animal tracks found food. The person who could read weather patterns survived storms. The person who could spot behavioral patterns in other humans avoided danger. But here's what's incredible about your modern brain. It's still doing this pattern matching at lightning speed, processing thousands of potential patterns every second. But now it's looking for the patterns you've taught it to value through your focus and repetition. Neuroscientist Dr. Daniel Levitin found that expert musicians can recognize musical patterns that sound like random noise to untrained ears. Their brains have been trained to filter for specific types of auditory information. The same principle applies to successful entrepreneurs who seem to spot business opportunities everywhere, or therapists who can read people's emotional states instantly. They haven't developed supernatural abilities. They've trained their pattern recognition systems to filter for specific types of information. Here's a study that will blow your mind. Researchers at the University of Rochester had participants look at dots moving on a screen. Some participants were told to look for dots moving left. Others were told to look for dots moving right. Brain scans showed that people literally saw more dots moving in the direction they were told to focus on. Even when the actual number of dots moving in each direction was identical, this means your expectation literally changes what you perceive as reality. Dr. Srini Pillai, a Harvard psychiatrist, explains it this way. Attention is not just about focusing, it's about filtering. When you change what you pay attention to, you literally change your neural networks, which changes your experience of reality. But most people are walking around with their pattern recognition systems optimized for problems, obstacles, and reasons why things won't work. They've accidentally programmed their brains to be expert problem spotters instead of solution spotters. Let me show you exactly how this is playing out in your daily life right now, in ways you probably haven't noticed. You set a goal to start a business. If you're like most people, you immediately start thinking about all the reasons it might fail. The competition, the lack of startup capital, the risk of failure, or you start thinking about how to earn enough money. Your RAS, being the faithful servant it is, starts showing you evidence that confirms these concerns. You notice news articles about business failures. You overhear conversations about people who lost money on failed ventures. You become hyper-aware of how many businesses are struggling. Meanwhile, the person who focuses on the possibility and process of building a successful business starts noticing different information. They spot successful local businesses they never noticed before. They overhear conversations about people who started with nothing and built something great. They notice articles about innovative business solutions. Same world, same available information, completely different filtered reality. Or let's say you're single and desperately want to meet someone. If you're constantly focused on being lonely, on how hard dating is, on how all the good ones are taken, your RAS will dutifully confirm this reality. You'll notice all the happy couples. You'll be hyper-aware of wedding announcements on social media. You'll hear every conversation about successful relationships and feel like you're the only one struggling. But the person who focuses on becoming the type of person who would attract a great partner starts noticing different information. They spot interesting single people they might not have noticed before. They become aware of social events and activities they could join. They notice examples of people who found love later in life or in unexpected ways. Here's another example that might hit close to home. You want a promotion at work, but you keep thinking about how your boss doesn't notice your contributions. How the system is unfair, how office politics always favor someone else. Your RAS starts showing you evidence of this everywhere, every time someone else gets recognition. Every unfair decision, every example of how hard work doesn't always pay off. The person who focuses on becoming promotable and adding more value notices different things. They spot ways to contribute that align with company goals. They become aware of skills their boss values. They notice examples of people who successfully advanced by providing solutions rather than complaining about problems. I know a woman, let's call her Sarah, who was convinced she lived in a city with no opportunities. She'd been job hunting for months with no luck, constantly talking about how the local economy was dead, how all the good companies had left, how it was impossible to find decent work in her area. Her RAS was working perfectly, It kept showing her evidence of economic struggle. Closed businesses and people complaining about the job market. Then we did something simple. I had her spend 5 minutes each morning writing down one thing she was looking forward to finding that day. Maybe a company she hadn't researched yet, a person who might offer helpful advice, or a creative solution to her job search challenge. Within 2 weeks, she noticed a help wanted sign that had been in a shop window for months. She struck up a conversation with someone at the grocery store who mentioned their company was hiring, and she discovered a local business networking group she'd somehow never heard of despite it meeting just 3 blocks from her apartment. The opportunities didn't magically appear. They'd been there all along. Her attention just wasn't tuned to see them. Now here's where most people get confused about why this works so effectively. They experience this heightened awareness and think something magical or mystical is happening. But it's actually one of the most well-documented cognitive biases working in their favor for once. You've probably heard of confirmation bias. It's the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information that confirms your existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. Usually this works against us. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll notice every time something goes wrong and forget the times things went right. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll focus on every betrayal and overlook acts of kindness. But here's the key insight that changes everything. Confirmation bias is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used constructively or destructively, depending on how you direct it. When you intentionally choose to believe that opportunities exist, that solutions are possible, that you can learn and grow from challenges, confirmation bias becomes your superpower. Your brain starts collecting evidence that supports these empowering beliefs instead of limiting ones. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's research at the University of North Carolina showed that people who intentionally focus on positive possibilities literally see more options available to them in problem-solving tasks. Their peripheral vision actually expands, and they notice more creative solutions compared to people focused on problems or threats. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist or putting on rose-colored glasses. It's about consciously choosing where to direct your brain's incredibly powerful pattern-matching abilities. Think about it this way. You're going to have confirmation bias, whether you want it or not. It's hardwired into how your brain processes information. The question is, are you going to accidentally program it to confirm your limitations, or are you going to intentionally program it to confirm your possibilities? The person who believes the world is full of opportunities for someone with my skills will notice opportunities. The person who believes nothing ever works out for people like me will notice failures and obstacles. Same world, same information available, completely different filtered reality. But here's what's really wild about this. Once you understand that you're already living in a filtered reality based on your unconscious programming, you realize you have the power to consciously choose a different filter. All right, so how do you actually hack your own RAS and start directing your confirmation bias toward what you want to create instead of what you want to avoid? I'm going to give you a complete system that's based on neuroscience research and not wishful thinking. Step 1 is getting laser clear on what you want your brain to filter for. Most people set vague goals like, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy. Your RAS can't work with that. It needs specific targets. Instead of I want more money, try I want to notice 3 potential income opportunities each week. Instead of I want better relationships, try I want to notice people who share my values and interests. Write these down in specific, observable terms. Your brain needs to know exactly what to look for. Step 2 is daily priming. Every morning, spend 5 minutes visualizing what you want to notice that day. This isn't fantasy visualization. This is programming your RAS. See yourself spotting the opportunities, having the conversations, noticing the information that moves you forward. Feel what it would be like to be the kind of person who naturally notices these things. Neuroscientist Dr. Alvaro Pasculione found that people who mentally rehearse an activity show the same brain changes as people who actually practice the activity. You're literally rewiring your attention networks. Step 3 is asking better questions. Your brain is constantly seeking answers to the questions you ask it, usually unconsciously. Most people ask terrible questions like, why can't I ever catch a break? Or why is this so hard for me? Your brain will dutifully search for evidence to answer these questions. Instead, ask questions that direct your attention towards solutions. What opportunity am I not seeing yet? How could I approach this differently? What would someone successful in this area notice that I'm missing? Write down 3 empowering questions related to your goal and read them every morning. Your brain will start scanning for answers throughout the day. Step 4 is the pattern documentation practice. Keep a simple note in your phone called Daily Notices. Each day, write down any opportunities, helpful information, or positive interactions you observed, no matter how small. This does 2 powerful things. It trains your conscious mind to value this type of information, and it provides evidence that your new programming is working. When you review your notes weekly, you'll be amazed at how much you were missing before you started paying attention. Step 5 is environmental design. Your physical environment constantly sends signals to your subconscious about what's important. If your workspace is cluttered with reminders of problems and obstacles, that's what your brain will filter for. Instead, surround yourself with visual reminders of your goals and the mindset you want to cultivate. Put up images that represent what you want to create, quotes that remind you of the questions you want to ask, or symbols that represent the identity you're developing. This isn't about magic. It's about giving your RAS consistent visual cues about what deserves your attention. Step 6 is the social programming factor. People you spend time with heavily influence what your brain considers normal and possible. If you're constantly around people who focus on problems, limitations, and why things won't work, your RAS will be programmed to notice evidence that supports that worldview. This doesn't mean you need to abandon everyone in your life, but it does mean you need to consciously seek out people who think in terms of possibilities and solutions. Join groups, follow social media accounts, read books, or listen to podcasts that feature people who have the mindset you want to develop. Your brain picks up on social cues about what's worth noticing, and surrounding yourself with solution-focused people will gradually reprogram your attention patterns. Now let me show you some advanced techniques that can accelerate this whole process once you've got the basics down. The first is what I call reverse engineering success patterns. Instead of just setting goals, study people who have already achieved what you want and identify the specific patterns of attention that led to their success. For example, if you want to build a successful business, don't just study business strategies. Study what successful entrepreneurs pay attention to. What do they notice about market trends? How do they spot opportunities that others miss? What questions do they ask that unsuccessful people don't? Then practice deliberately noticing those same patterns in your own environment. If successful entrepreneurs pay attention to customer complaints as opportunities for innovation, train yourself to notice complaints in your daily life and ask, what business could solve this problem? The second advanced technique is cross-domain pattern recognition. This is where you train your brain to notice patterns that exist across different areas of life and transfer insights between them. For instance, if you're trying to improve your relationships, you might study what makes certain businesses great at customer service and apply those patterns to your personal interactions. Or if you're working on fitness goals, you might notice the patterns that successful businesses use for consistent growth and apply them to your workout routine. The third technique is temporal pattern tracking. This is about noticing patterns across time rather than just in the moment. Keep track of when you tend to notice opportunities, when you feel most creative, when solutions come to you most easily. Most people have natural rhythms and optimal times for different types of awareness, but they never pay attention to these patterns. Once you identify your peak awareness times, you can schedule important activities and decision-making during these windows. The fourth advanced technique is environmental pattern cycling. This involves deliberately changing your physical environment to trigger different types of awareness. Many breakthrough insights come when we're in unfamiliar environments because our RAS is more active and open to new information when it can't rely on familiar patterns. This could be as simple as working from a different location once a week, taking a new route to work, or having important conversations in environments you don't usually associate with that type of thinking. The fifth technique is question stacking. Instead of asking just one empowering question, create a sequence of questions that build on each other and progressively expand your awareness. For example, what opportunity am I not seeing yet? followed by who might I connect with who could help me see this opportunity, followed by what would I need to learn or develop to recognize these types of opportunities faster. This creates a deeper programming pattern that doesn't just look for surface-level opportunities, but builds your capacity to recognize increasingly sophisticated patterns. Let me be brutally honest with you about what happens if you ignore everything I've just shared with you. You'll keep living with the same filtered reality that's been holding you back, possibly for years or even decades. Your brain will continue running on its current programming, which means you'll keep noticing the same types of information you've always noticed, which means you'll keep getting the same types of results you've always gotten. But it gets worse than that, because now that you know this information exists, ignoring it becomes a choice. Before this video, you might have had an excuse for missing opportunities. You didn't know your brain was filtering them out, but now you know. Now every missed opportunity, every time you feel stuck, every moment you wonder why other people seem to have all the luck, you'll know exactly why it's happening. You'll know that somewhere in your environment, there's probably information that could help you move forward, but your RAS isn't programmed to notice it. You'll know that there are people having conversations that could lead to opportunities for you, but your attention isn't tuned to hear them. You'll know that there are patterns and possibilities all around you, but you're walking through life with blinders on. And here's what's really frustrating. You'll start noticing how other people seem to effortlessly spot the things you're missing. You'll wonder how they always seem to be in the right place at the right time, how they hear about opportunities before everyone else, how they manage to connect with exactly the people they need to meet. The answer won't be mysterious anymore. They haven't developed supernatural abilities or gained access to some secret network. They've simply programmed their brains to notice different information than you're noticing. On the flip side, when you do take control of your RAS and start intentionally directing your attention, the changes can be dramatic and surprisingly fast. I've heard people report significant shifts within just a few weeks of implementing these techniques. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about becoming delusionally positive or pretending problems don't exist. The goal is to become as skilled at noticing solutions and opportunities as you currently are at noticing problems and obstacles. Most people have accidentally become experts at problem recognition. You can spot potential issues, obstacles, and reasons why things might not work from a mile away. But they're completely untrained in opportunity recognition, possibility thinking, and solution-focused attention. When you balance these skills, when you can see both challenges and opportunities clearly, that's when you start making decisions and taking actions that actually move your life forward, instead of just helping you avoid problems. Let me show you how this plays out across different areas of life, so you can see the full scope of what's possible when you master your attention patterns. In career development, people who focus on skill gaps and job market problems notice information that confirms how difficult career advancement is. People who focus on value creation and growth opportunities notice examples of people advancing. They become aware of skills that are in demand, and they spot ways to position themselves as solutions to problems their employers face. I've talked with a marketing manager named David who felt stuck in his role. He was constantly noticing how his boss overlooked his contributions, how the company didn't invest in employee development, how other departments got better resources. His RAS was perfectly tuned to collect evidence of workplace unfairness. We shifted his focus to noticing ways he could add unique value and opportunities to demonstrate leadership. Within a month, he noticed that the sales team was struggling with lead qualification, something he could help with using his marketing background. He proposed a collaboration that ended up saving the company money and led to his promotion 6 months later. The collaboration opportunity had always existed, but his brain wasn't programmed to notice cross-departmental solutions. In relationships, people focused on what's wrong with dating, what's lacking in their current relationships, or why people are disappointing will notice evidence that confirms these beliefs. Their RAS will highlight every relationship failure, every disappointing interaction, every example of people not living up to expectations. People focused on connection, growth, and mutual value creation notice different patterns. As they spot people who share their interests, so they become aware of others who are also looking for meaningful relationships. They notice examples of couples who've built something beautiful together. In financial life, people focused on scarcity and how expensive everything is will notice evidence of financial struggle everywhere. People focused on value creation and abundance notice income opportunities. They become aware of ways to provide solutions people will pay for, and they spot examples of others who've built wealth through service. Sarah, I mentioned earlier, didn't just transform her job search. Once she understood how to direct her attention, she started noticing side income opportunities everywhere. She realized her neighbors were constantly complaining about not having time to walk their dogs, so she started a dog walking service. She noticed local businesses struggling with social media, so she offered her marketing skills as a freelancer. These opportunities had always existed in her environment, but her scarcity-focused RAS had filtered them out in favor of evidence that there was no money to be made. In health and fitness, people focused on how hard it is to stay in shape, how they lack willpower, or how healthy food is expensive and time-consuming will notice information that supports these beliefs. People focused on progress, sustainable habits, and feeling strong will notice examples of others succeeding. They become aware of simple, healthy choices available to them, and they spot ways to make fitness enjoyable rather than a burden. The key insight across all these domains is that your current results are largely a product of what you've been programmed to notice. And what you notice determines what you act on. Change your attention patterns, and you literally change your available options. Here's something most people miss about this whole process. As you change what you notice, you inevitably start changing how you see yourself. And this identity shift is where the real transformation happens. When you start noticing opportunities regularly, you begin to see yourself as the type of person who spots opportunities. When you start recognizing solutions to problems around you, you develop an identity as a solution-oriented person. When you notice examples of others succeeding in ways you want to succeed, you start believing that type of success is possible for someone like you. This is crucial because your identity, how you see yourself, is the ultimate filter for what you allow yourself to notice, consider, and act upon. If you see yourself as unlucky, your RAS will filter for evidence of bad luck and filter out evidence of good fortune. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, your brain will notice financial challenges and miss financial opportunities. If you see yourself as socially awkward, you'll focus on social interactions that don't go well and miss signs of people who actually enjoy your company. But when you consciously direct your attention toward evidence of the identity you want to develop, something powerful happens. You start collecting proof that you're becoming that person. Every opportunity you notice becomes evidence that you're opportunity-minded. Every solution you spot becomes proof that you're solution-oriented. Every positive interaction becomes confirmation that you're socially capable. This creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop. Your new attention patterns provide evidence for your desired identity, which strengthens your belief in that identity, which makes you more likely to act in ways consistent with that identity, which generates results that further confirm the identity. Most people try to change their results without changing their attention patterns or their identity. They want a new outcome while keeping the same awareness patterns that created their current situation. This is why most people struggle with lasting change, trying to get different results while continuing to notice the same types of information. The people who create lasting transformation understand that you have to change what you pay attention to before you can change what you achieve. So here's where you are right now. You understand that your brain is constantly filtering reality based on programming you may not have consciously chosen. You know that you can reprogram this filtering system to notice opportunities, solutions, and possibilities instead of just problems and obstacles. You have two choices. Choice 1. You can treat this like interesting information and go back to living with your current attention patterns. You can continue letting your RAS run on autopilot, showing you more evidence of whatever you've been unconsciously focused on. This might feel safe and familiar, but it also means staying stuck with the same filtered reality that's given you your current results. Choice 2. You can take conscious control of your attention and start programming your RAS to work for your goals instead of against them. You can spend the next 30 days deliberately practicing the techniques I've shared and see how your perception of available opportunities shifts. Here's what I want you to do if you choose option 2. For the next 7 days, try this experiment. Every morning, write down 3 specific things you want to notice that day. These should be related to a goal or area where you feel stuck. Maybe it's, I want to notice one new way to add value at work. I want to notice someone who seems genuinely happy in their relationship. Or I want to notice one example of someone solving a problem creatively. Every evening, write down what you actually noticed. Don't worry if you don't spot anything the first few days. Your RAS needs time to recalibrate. After 7 days, look at your notes. I guarantee you'll be surprised by how much was available in your environment that you simply weren't programmed to see before. If this experiment works for you, if you notice your awareness shifting in ways that feel helpful, then you'll know this isn't just theory. You'll have direct evidence that you can consciously direct your attention in ways that change your experience of reality. The question isn't whether your brain's filtering system is working. It's working every second of every day. The question is, are you going to consciously direct it toward what you want to create? Or are you going to let it continue running on unconscious programming that may be holding you back? Your attention is the most powerful tool you have for shaping your experience of life. The successful people, the lucky people, the ones who seem to always be in the right place at the right time. They're not living in a different world. They're just seeing a different version of the same world because they've learned to direct their attention consciously. That same power is available to you right now. The only question is whether you'll use it.